Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings in my weekly radio show is to provide you information the bought-off, lamestream, fake media, a tentacle of the deep state, will not provide. My goal is to empower you with the facts. And my hope is that you'll take this information we present on this YouTube channel, on my radio show Operation Freedom, and on my website, davejanda.com, and network that information to anyone and everyone you know. The more people we have educated with the facts, the more people we have empowered, and the sooner we end this reign of error and terror that's been perpetrated by the deep state. My radio show airs every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. It's free. How do you get there? Go to davejanda.com, hit the Listen Live button. It'll take you to Wham Talk 1600 streaming service out of the People's Republic of Ann Arbor. We're broadcasting from behind enemy lines every Sunday. Just hit that play button and you're with us. Great guests, great analysis every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. In addition, we're on this YouTube channel 24/7, where we upload a couple new YouTube presentations every week, and also available at davejanda.com, the website, where we have free public information, but we also have the subscription service with extra shows, extra content, all the archives for the radio show and for our WTF show and for our Insider Insight show that we produce and post every week. Today's topic is the deep state took their shot and missed. They've taken multiple shots and missed. Let's talk about the shots that they've taken at two of the leaders of the freedom movement, the Patriot movement, President Trump and General Flynn. Let's look at the shots that the deep state has taken. Their first big shot, the underlying key to their control mechanism, the coup, started actually years ago. Admiral Ace Lyons and General Tom McInerney had come on my platform on the radio show in March 19th, actually, of 2017, over 3.5 years ago, and said, look, your listening audience, the American public, needs to realize that this is a coup, and the key to the coup is the illegal surveillance activity perpetrated by puppets of the deep state, Obama, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, and Mueller, and their underlings. But the principals were actively involved in this illegal surveillance program. Yes, it was occurring on the NSA platform, had been occurring for the past 20 years. Patriots, Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe, two friends of mine, two people who have regularly come on our platform, have spoken about the fact that why they left in 2001, the NSA, was because of the illegal surveillance activity that was occurring against American citizens, had no knowledge of it. And that phone calls, emails, financial transactions, internet activity was all being monitored 24/7. But then there was another step in the process. Actually, as sinister as the NSA abuse was, this was even more abusive. And that was the use of what's called parallel platforms in which there was no documentation of these criminals within our government illegally surveilling not just other government officials, but millions of American citizens. Phone calls, emails, internet activity, financial transactions, you, me, everyone we know. And the purpose of that was to gain information which could be used to control people, to leverage them, to blackmail them. And Obama and Brennan and Clapper and Comey and Mueller, privatized a system that had initially been utilized by the government to monitor terrorists in far-off lands, to protect our homeland in the United States. But as far back as early in the Obama administration, February 2009, that system was taken by Obama, Brennan, Clapper, Mueller, and Comey, and essentially privatized for the use of these, best way to describe them is as government thugs, to gain control. And then when they lost the presidency in 2016, well, to then use it, as Admiral Lyons put it, as their, quote, key to the coup, end quote. They utilize these parallel platforms, one of which has been outlined on this platform at great length, called the Hammer. A whistleblower by the name of Dennis Montgomery came forward and spoke about it. Actually, he's been demonized, slandered, libeled, defamed, all for telling what the illegal activity of the deep state was. You see, that's what the deep state does. When someone goes off their corrupt reservation and starts speaking the truth, or takes on that corrupt reservation, they become targeted. And as I mentioned, the two people that have been targeted by far the most, and actually persecuted, have been President Trump and General Flynn. So the first shot the deep state took to take down these patriots was with their illegal surveillance platform called the Hammer. And then they launched into their fake Russian collusion hoax. There was no collusion between the Trump administration, including General Flynn, and the Russians. That was all a setup, as we've outlined on our platform 3.5 years ago. It's just kind of frustrating that this is new news in September of 2020, that Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid for that fraudulent Steele dossier, which was influenced all to bring down and created to bring down the Trump administration in a fictitious scenario. But yeah, some people are just real. Some people out in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, right outside that window. Wow, Hillary Clinton was involved in that? Where you been? We've been talking about this for 3.5, almost 4 years now. That Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid for Christopher Steele to network that into, with the support of Brennan and Obama and Clapper and Comey, to create this narrative, to cover up what they were doing illegally with their illegal surveillance activities, but also to tar and feather the president and to bring down his administration. So they took their shot with the fake Russian collusion hoax. That didn't work out so well. So then they tried the Ukraine hoax. Oh, this phone call. Perfectly legitimate phone call. Perfectly legitimate content. So that kind of backfired on them, but they still launched in their impeachment hoax, which also backfired. And while this impeachment hoax was going on and giving cover, the beginning or earlier this year, they were launching on another hoax. The virus was real. The virus was real. But the deep state puppets in the government's reaction to the virus was actually more than a hoax. It has caused a tremendous amount of harm in our country. The China virus. It was an attack on the world, and in particular the United States. Several 100,000 Americans perished in that attack. I know Joe Biden has said 200 million Americans have died from COVID. That was in September of this year. In June of this year, I believe Biden said 120 million Americans died of COVID. No, stop. That's not a gaffe. You don't repetitively say this stuff. It's more than a gaffe, folks. There's significant, cognitive, severe issues with him. And this China virus attack, and whistleblowers come forward, said, look, this just wasn't wasn't from eating bat soup. And we've outlined this from the very beginning and got tremendous grief starting in January when we said that we believe that this was released from that lab, willfully released, and then willfully walked across the world, and in particular into the United States. Because, the other hoaxes weren't working out so well. But the government's reaction, initially, look, the first 15-day shutdown, you might say, well, I don't think that should be. Well, wait, we had to get our hands around this. We had to get our arms around this. We had to get our heads around this, what was really going on. But when it became obvious what was going on, then the deep state governors from around our country, whether it was Newsom in California or Cuomo in New York or Wolf in Pennsylvania or right here, the largest POW camp in all of the United States, the state of Michigan, with the Commandant Klink from Hogan's Hero, the Commandant Klink of governors, that being Whitmer, incompetent, but playing on the wrong side, just as Klink did. The reaction was to shut everything down beyond the 15 days. To this point, Whitmer still keeps trying to bring out executive orders to the point where the Supreme Court in Michigan just last week shot her down and said, look, this is off the charts. But the virus, all of a sudden, incredible coincidence, a month before the election, all of a sudden, as I tweeted a week ago and it went viral, the virus has mutated. It can now differentiate between Republicans and Democrats. It's even more contagious to Republican members of the Senate Judiciary Committee who are hearing about the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett. And it's even more contagious to any individual working on President Trump's re-election. I think right now we have 34 members of the Trump administration that in the past couple weeks were affected by the virus. If you just think that's coincidence, well, I think you got another thing coming. I believe it was a concerted attack. It was yet another shot from the deep state. Dr. Michael Rechtenwald, the anti-PC professor, formerly of NYU, he actually, we just uploaded a recent interview I did with him on this platform. If you haven't watched it, please do. The subscribers asked me to provide this to our YouTube channel free of charge so you could see it. I hope you'll watch it. I hope you'll network it because it's incredibly instructive. Dr. Rechtenwald started out in his earlier years as someone who was left of the Bolsheviks. He has since seen the light and has taken on the social justice movement and has been ostracized from academia for his stance for freedom. Here's what he recently wrote. The more dangerous virus infecting America is ideological, not biological. This virus turns people into mutant miscreants sick with envy, hatred, mass delirium, homicidal ideation, and violent tendencies accompanied by an irrational belief in their own moral superiority. Incredibly well said. When it comes to Donald Trump, he has sacrificed himself and his family for America on so many fronts, including the most recent with his bout with the China virus, with COVID. Joe Biden, on the other hand, as is evident through his dealings with China and Russia and Ukraine through his son Hunter, and if you think Hunter did that all by himself and that there wasn't something coming back to daddy, come on, grow up, get realistic. Joe Biden, on the other hand, sacrificed America for himself and his family. Back in January, I called the coronavirus, COVID-19, the China virus, whatever you want to call it. I called it the freedom-stripping virus. Freedom-stripping virus. Because it's interesting, when it rose its head in China is when the freedom movement was moving from Hong Kong into the mainland. And all of a sudden, the virus showed up. Bam! The freedom movement dissolved in China. And then it was willfully exported across the world, and hundreds of millions of individuals' freedom were attacked. People having to essentially, it was called by these, under the hoax of quarantine, it was really mass house arrest. Healthy people being told they must stay in their homes. In Michigan, you were not allowed to go to the any kind of landscaping. You couldn't cut your grass outside. You couldn't plant anything. You couldn't buy paint or carpeting because of the edict of Commandant Klink Whitmer, these governors. Whitmer even went so far as you could not buy seeds. You know, tomatoes, you name it, you name the vegetable plant. The virus was being used to strip every American of their freedoms. Unless you don't think that this was not a concerted effort on behalf of the deep state and their puppets in government, let's go to Hanoi Jane Fonda recently. She was speaking about, her support of Joe Biden. He cares so much. He cares. He's so empathetic. And then she uttered these words after she endorsed Joe Biden. Quote, COVID is God's gift to the left. End quote. Yeah. If you're a sick, deep state shill or puppet, yeah, it's God's gift. Several 100,000 people died in our country. And she calls it, this Biden supporter, God's gift to the left. Go back to what my mom, to me that's evil. To I believe any rational human being, it's evil. My mom used to say, she kind of drilled it in my head actually, evil only has power if you become fearful. Always stand strong and take action. You see, one of the ramifications of the China virus was for everyone to be fearful. And that's what the mask issue is all about, because the data, the science that the puppets all talk about, the deep state puppets, it's all about data and science. Really? Because when you look at the data and the science of masks, they're not going to prevent you from getting COVID. Period. The data is unequivocal. The American Association of Physicians and Surgeons, aapsonline.org, has the data there. Feel free to review it. I have. Plus more. But the masks are a sign of control. They're a sign of fear. Now look, if you're sick, wear a mask. Better yet, stay home. Whether it's COVID or the flu or whatever it might be. We talked about this since January, got a lot of grief. Wash your hands regularly. Boost your immune system. It's key. Don't be putting your hands near your mouth. Common sense, basic hygiene is the key. And as I said, boosting your immune system. The big pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know that. But we do a whole series with Dr. Glidden about this. Go look in our archives here on YouTube. They're also on my website, davejanda.com, or on operationfreedomhealth.com. So the attack of the virus ended up affecting the president of the United States and his re-election team and his wife, First Lady. And they battled it. And the deep state thought they took their last shot. They thought they got it. Oh, he's going to be incapacitated. He is not going to be able to campaign. He might not even make the election. He seriously won't be able to debate. Oh, were they wrong? Very wrong. He got great treatment with Dr. Conley and the entire Walter Reed team and some folks from Johns Hopkins. And the president took it head on. And he has recovered, much to the chagrin of the deep state. And then he came home. Got off Marine One, walked up 2 flights of stairs with his mask on. Pretty tough to do, actually. And then when he got to the stairs, the deep state puppets in the media, the bought-off lane, had a fit. My gosh, he took his mask off. Yeah, he did. There was no one near him. I mean, what do they say, 6 feet? Wasn't anybody within 60 feet of the guy. But And then he made a brief presentation. And I played it on my radio show this past week. And then the next day, he went out to the South Lawn and made another presentation. I want to play that for you because he lays it on the line. And the bought-off lamestream fake media will not touch this, but you need to know it. And what we're going to do is we're going to play it for you right now. The president, the day after he got home, speaking about the attack against him and his family and his team and our country and you and me. Here's what he said.